how I got over and said he would. And as you're listening, I encourage you to be attentive to the physical sensation of this feel produced by the strong forward to the floor, pacing, and propulsive long-short subdivision of the beat. Jackson also recorded a group of songs for Paula that she performed what I call a gospel feel, distinguishable from her swing numbers. It's a little bit more explanation. The definitive characteristic of the gospel feel is a metric and rhythmic aspect rooted in the dialogue heard in many quartet and gospel group performances that I refer to as the gospel seesaw. As I described, Jackson's swing recordings maintain 4 solid beats per bar and thus a continuous pulse that can be reinforced with a walking bass. In contrast, a common practice in post-war gospel performances is a volleying back and forth between a soloist and her backing group, structured such that the lead sings phrases centered on or around the pickup and downbeat bar. And Thomas Dorsey's Consider Me, and notice even the title of the songs already articulate that with "I have a friend, consider me," which I don't think is a coincidence. Again, be attentive as you can to how differently the 4 equally weighted beats of the swing tunes feel in comparison with the seesaw effect of these 2 songs, on which the piano and guitar responses to Jackson's vocal lines are indispensable to executing the feel of these performances. In your ear and bodily response to the difference between these 2 feels, I'd like to play an excerpt from Jackson's recording of I'm Getting Near My Home, which begins with a slower gospel feel and switches mid-song to a more driving swing feel, illustrating how Jackson vocalized over these contrasting feels, but also how what's going on musically is really more than just a change in tempo. It's a change in feel. relatively slow tempo, though her hymn performances are perhaps better described as free in their general non-adherence to either a steady beat or strictly measured rhythms, making room for her liquid intonation and expressive use of vocal runs. As some gospel historians have observed, Jackson's style of performing hymns reflects the influence of a venerable type of congregational singing known among Black Baptists as lined out or Dr. Watts hymnody. Hymns are lined out in the sense that the song leader introduces one line of text at a time, which is then sung by the congregation in a more elaborately drawn-out variant. Here's a short excerpt of a recording of Jackson demonstrating the lined-out Baptist hymn before this time another year for jazz historian Bill Russell in her Chicago apartment. And notice how Jackson modeled the leader-group division of labor by first singing a line and then repeating it in a much more drawn-out fashion in which the congregation would have responded.
Before this time, another year.
And as we'll hear in this excerpt from her Apollo recording of A Child of the King, Jackson's performance of free hymns don't necessarily reproduce Dr. Watts' singing per se, but they're clearly guided by the performance practice and sound of lined-out hymnody as she heard it and is still heard in Black Baptist churches. Jackson consistently brought this feel and vocal style to her performance of the hymns that she recorded for Apollo. Here's A Child of the King. Answer questions about these sessions, but I'll say in closing that beyond the issues I raised earlier, Jackson's Apollo recordings marked a pivot point in the Black gospel field that shadowed the music industry more broadly, of a period during which the economy of gospel songs, commodified as sheet music, ceded ground to gospel singing, commodified as recordings by charismatic singers like Jackson, to be consumed by fans.